Hello and welcome to Star K's monthly webinar held in our offices in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm Rabbi Goldberg, and joining us today is Rabbi Sholom Tendler.
Morning,
Welcome, Rabbi Tendler.
Thank you, Rabbi Goldberg.
Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to join us here. Today's webinar is going to be around the year, different issues that have to do with the calendar, come from time to time, and also a lettuce alert that you have to share with us. We'll get to that a little bit later. This webinar is held monthly, the last Wednesday of the month at 12 noon. If you want to be reminded of the topic and of the issues, you can send an email to info@star-k.org and we'll sign you up to get the emails. If you want to listen by phone, if something is, if you're on the road or your computer sound is a little bit low, you can call the following number, 218-895-1203. Again, 218-895-1203, passcode 2020. All of our previous webinars are archived on our Vimeo channel, so go to Vimeo and look for Star K certification. And the webinar we had with you not too long ago, Rabbi Tendler, on the bug checking, right?
That's right.
How to do the different methods, the Shmitta method, and and we still use the same methods, right? Basically, it's still valid. So you can look at that
yeah, we won't go over time today like we did then either. So.
We did really?
By quite a bit.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll make up for that then. We'll make it shorter now, and it will even out. We'd like to, if you chat with us, and you can chat with us on the bottom of your screen. Let me bring that up like this. Okay, see on the bottom you can chat and we'll get back to you. Try to take your questions or concerns. Can everybody hear us? Can anybody hear us? If we have even one or two people who can chat with us, that they can hear us and see us, that's great because then we know we're getting out. And okay, New York City, great. I'm sure we have some people in there to Israel as well. Okay, so let's start with a Pruzbal reminder, Rabbi Tendler. A Pruzbal, as most of you probably know, is a document that's written during the Shemitah year, the sabbatical year, the end of the year. And what is the purpose of it? The purpose is that besides for letting the land lie fallow during the Shemitah year in Israel, the rabbis instituted that the loans all over the world are forgiven at the end of the year, right? So it's like
Shmitas
Ksafim. So it is a type of Shemitah as well, right? So it's Shemitah of the land, only in Israel, and then there's Shemitah of the loans wherever you may be in the world. So at the end of this coming year, on 1 second before Rosh Hashanah, on Sunday night, right? Sunday night. The loans will be forgiven. And the rabbis were afraid that because the loans are forgiven, people might be hesitant to lend money, and that would be worse for people who had to borrow. I mean, it's a good thing to have your loan forgiven, but it's worse if you need the money or you can't get it. So they instituted a document called the Pruzbal, which in a nutshell is that you give over your loans into the hands of a Beis-Din of rabbinical court. And so you are not allowed to collect your loans, but the Beis-Din is allowed to collect the loans or appoint you back in return to collect your loans. So you fill out this document, and that permits you to go to those that owe you money and collect. It does not need to be done if the loan is not due yet. So let's say you lend somebody money, and the loan is only coming due sometime after Rosh Hashanah. You don't need a Pruzbal for that. But generally, we recommend that everybody fill out a Pruzbal, even if because you don't always remember,
right.
People that you lend money. Somebody may come to you in a couple of months and say, "Here's the $100, or $500 you lent me."
It seems the minhag is that everybody fills in a Pruzbal every Rosh Hashanah.
Everybody does it, and if you didn't fill one out, and somebody comes in and tries to pay you back, you have to say that you are mishamit, right? That
it's forgiven.
It's forgiven. You don't have to pay me back. Now he can say, even so, I want to pay you, but he doesn't have to say that. And so it's recommended that everybody fill out a Pruzbal. And we have up on our website, a document that's useful for this year. Rabbi Chapman just put it up. there is the website. You can go to there, and that you can use. Fill in your city. If you're in Baltimore, you write Baltimore. Wherever you are, you fill in the city and the dates, and you can use that Pruzbal.
And there's both Hebrew and English versions there as well.
Right, because you should understand what you're
Right.
what you're doing. It shouldn't just be that you think that you're, I don't know, you know.
Right. Also, if you live in Saskatchewan, you want to know how to spell Saskatchewan in Hebrew, I would say just use the English version.
Okay, very good. Okay, Abraham is from Mexico. He's listening to us. Yes, Pruzbal also applies in Mexico. Anywhere in the world, you have to Pruzbal. What about if you were on in outer space? You still need a Pruzbal, right? Because it's nothing to do with the land. It has to do with the people.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't matter. Okay. Well, that would be something if we could get some of the astronauts on the space station to listen to our webinar. That would be good. That would be a coup.
That would be out of this world.
Yeah. It would be out of this world, as Rabbi Chapman said. Is a Pruzbal only for loans, or is also for fees charged for bar mitzvah lessons but not yet paid? Okay, so that's a good question. This is just a Pruzbal reminder. We're not going to go too much into the details, but to answer your question, it's only for loans. However, fees like bar mitzvah lessons, if it can turn into a loan. If the bar mitzvah teacher sent you a bill, then it becomes a loan. If you just owe him the money because he worked for you, then it's not a loan. But if he billed you, or a doctor, let's say a doctor, he doesn't loan people money, but when he sends them a bill, then it turns into a loan, and then it's called zakvanel of milveh. So then they owe him the money at this point, and so therefore it's a good reason why everybody should fill one out, because you never know where who you think you don't realize people really owe you loans. Is there anything else about Pruzbal that we want to mention? We do it at the end of the year. Let's say Sunday. Was it 2 weeks from now?
Right. Oh, there is one important point. Is that according to the Shulchan Aruch Harav, and I believe the minhag by a lot of Hasidim, is they do a Pruzbal both at the beginning of Shemitah, at the end of Shemitah, because it's a machlokes when Shemitah is Mishamed, is at the beginning or at the end.
The Rosh.
So therefore, even people who did one last year, Erev Rosh Hashanah, should also do one again this year, Rosh Hashanah, this way to make sure you're covered on all bases.
Right. Rabbi Heinemann doesn't recommend to do it
Right.
at the beginning of this past year. But even if you did, you need to do it again.
Right.
And to write out the Pruzbal. So let's just say that if you have any further questions on the Pruzbal, as you're filling it out, you may have a question. I mean, you need to use a Beis Din, a rabbinical court, but it can be any three people who aren't related.
And over bar mitzvah.
And over bar mitzvah, right? Men who are over bar mitzvah and not related, and they should understand what they're doing, and to fill out the Pruzbal. But if you have any further questions, you can email us. The best place probably directly to Rabbi Frankel, right?
Correct.
Who's heading our Institute of Halacha at the Star K, and his email is halacha@star-k.org. So that's HALACA @star-k.org. One of these days we will dispense with that hyphen.
Just make it Star K.
Or just Star Kosher.
That's Star Kosher or
Star K.
Stark. It's meant to be Stark.
Right.
That's right.
Stark. But meanwhile, till that day, we have a hyphen in that. Okay, Yehuda's asking if you can move up a little bit, Rabbi Tendler, and speak a little louder. Okay, so that's really the just the Pruzbal reminder. People should not forget to do the Pruzbal. Now, I want to tell you something, Rabbi Tendler, that also has to do with the calendar, and I discovered it this week, and I confirmed it with Rabbi Heber, who is our calendar expert. Okay. In normal years, there is a little bit of a discrepancy between the parshias that are read on Shabbos between outside of Israel and in Israel. Sometimes after
Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos.
When Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, let's say usually Pesach is an issue, right? So after Pesach, Passover, for a couple of weeks, people know that there is a discrepancy. Sometimes if they're traveling to Israel, they may hear a different parsha read over there than they would over here. But what is unique about this coming year is that from Pesach until August, the parshias are different. It's taking until August for us to catch up to the parsha that they're reading over there. So that means, and why it's important to know now, as I pointed out on the email, is that let's say you're making a bar mitzvah in July in Israel, right? And the custom is that the bar mitzvah boy reads the parsha, right? Who would think that when you get there, you got to make sure it's the right parsha? I mean, nobody. It's so unusual that it lasts into the end of July. But imagine he prepares one parsha and he gets there and he sees that they're one ahead, and they don't want to hear his parsha. You have to make a separate minyan, and even when you make this separate minyan, he has to read the whole parsha in one aliyah. It's very difficult. So
the most common mistake is usually when you find out Erev Shabbos that the Haftarah tomorrow was Machar Chodesh, not the one that the Bar Mitzvah prepared.
Right.
But this is a lot worse than that.
Right. So anybody who's preparing to go, there's another reason for this, and this is.
And we're talking, by the way, everyone should be clear. We're talking about next year from Pesach until the summer.
Right, 2016.
Right, 2016.
Tafshin Ayin Vav.
Right.
So, and the reason for this, Rabbi Heber explained to me. Maybe we should have a whole webinar on it because it's a real quirk of the calendar. Is because two things come into play over here. One is that the last day of Pesach is Shabbos for outside of Israel. The 8th day is Shabbos. So that means that we are reading what is read normally on Pesach, but in Israel they're reading the next parsha, okay, which is Achrei Mos. But since it's a leap year, it is also a leap year. That means that parshas that normally could go together have to be spread out. And therefore, until the only time they can catch up is at the beginning of August. The only time we can catch up to them is until the beginning of August. And,
Matos Maseh?
yes, Matos Maseh is where we catch up. And so I just want to point out for somebody who's thinking of making a bar mitzvah or knows somebody who's making a bar mitzvah in Israel, to point out to them to make sure that they are going to be reading the right parsha because of that calendar quirk. When was the last time this happened, Rabbi Tendler? No, I didn't know either, so I don't want to put you on the spot.
We'll get Rabbi Heber here.
Yeah, so I asked Rabbi Heber when that happened. When was the last time? 1995 was the last time you had this confluence. So that's 21 years difference. So most people will not realize that there is even such a possibility, and so it's an interesting thing to know. So Zev is pointing out that there's no requirement to make it up according to. So all that may be true, but again, if you're an American boy trying to read your parsha and you get there and they're not interested in the shul where you're trying to read in your parsha because they're one ahead, then you're going to have a problem.
I actually had that once. I had a cousin's bar mitzvah that was Parsha Shalach, and I was in Eretz Yisrael learning in the mirror. And my father wasn't able to go. It was a cousin's bar mitzvah, so I went and I read his speech for him at the bar mitzvah. And when I read it, I realized he had prepared a drasha for Parshas Baloscha.
I see.
And it was Parsha Shlach this year. So
okay, so he was off.
He was off.
Okay, that's it. I thought that was an interesting parsha quirk, a quirk of this year, a calendar, due to the confluence of events of the leap year that's coming up, and also Pesach starting on Friday night. Okay, so now let's go to another issue that applies around the year, Shemitah, the sabbatical year issues. And I want to tell you, Rabbi Tendler, I was in Israel over the summer. I had the chus to be visiting there, and there's two things. One is that much of the year passes by many of the inhabitants without them even sort of realizing it, because they buy in stores that exclusively sell produce that is not Shemitah. And so if you live in a what they call a Haredi area, you may not even realize, you know that there's Shemitah, of course, but it doesn't affect you that much because you only buy in these stores where they take care of the problem for you. But one thing I realized, that you have to be so careful, because I had some water. It was very hot. I don't know if you read about that. It was extremely hot this summer. Anyway, I had water in the car, and when water stays a couple of days in the hot sun and in plastic, you don't want to drink it anymore because you're afraid it leaches out the plastic, so you want to spill it out. So normally, I park my car, I want to spill it out, I see there's a tree over there, right? There's a tree on the side on the sidewalk. And why should I waste the water? So I go over and I want to pour it to water the tree. But then I realize, well, I'm not sure you can do that because it's Shemitah, right? That you can only water if you're doing it to save the tree. But they must have some, they don't need my water, right? They're not counting on my water.
Right.
So I'm not trying to save the tree, so I realize I have to spill it in the gutter. So sometimes there are things that come up that you don't even realize when you're in Israel. But sometimes these issues of Shemitah are affecting us more here in the diaspora. So let's talk a little bit about the carrots problem that's still coming up.
Right. There seems to be a lot of, Israel is a very big exporter of fruits and vegetables. This year in particular, there's a lot of carrots that are being exported from Israel, peppers too. Every year there's citrus fruits, but citrus fruits haven't hit the market here from Israel yet, but they usually come around this time of year. And these are all fruits and vegetables that have Kosher on them, and consumers in America have to be aware of that.
Right, so the carrots, well, the particular, I think we might have talked about this previously, but it's still going on. It's still getting calls.
It's still going on.
You got many calls.
We have many calls about it. It affects restaurants, it affects caterers, it affects all kinds of companies that use fresh vegetables, because a lot of the suppliers get in, a lot of the big vegetable suppliers are getting in these items from Israel, and they just ship it out because they don't know anything different. And it's really something we have to monitor from our end, and consumers have to monitor from their end when they buy produce in the store to make sure they're not from Israel.
The particular brand of carrots was called Dorot Farms.
But there's a few. There was a
few. Really, there were others. Okay, I didn't know that. But so those are based on the Heter Mechira, which we're not going to go into now. But we don't rely on that. And
well, there was a few. Some of them were based on Heter Mechira, and some of them really weren't.
Some were
some were just straight Kedusha Shvius produce that was shipped out of Israel, Shaloi Kedin, as they say,
okay.
Improperly.
Okay, so all right, so but the carrots is particular issues because the carrots can last. I don't think they're picking carrots anymore in Israel, but the carrot season is over. But they put them in a cold storage, and they can continue to ship them. So that's something people need to be aware of ongoing. Now, after Rosh Hashanah, after a period of time, the vegetables will not be a problem anymore because they're picking they're getting from the new crop.
Well, they still have a Trumas Amaishus issue, which is something people should be aware of. Also,
yes,
any produce from Israel generally has a Trumas Amaishus issue.
Right. So we were getting many calls about oranges and citrus fruits. Particularly people buying from Costco, right? Did you get that a lot? We got a lot of people. Costco seems to have some contract to buy Israeli produce, and people were wondering if it's like the carrots. It wasn't like the carrots because the carrots were called svichin, which were forbidden to be eaten, but the citrus fruits were really from the previous crop, from the previous year's crop, 6-year crop. So they needed to have the tithing taken, but the citrus fruit season, I believe, is over now at this point. But when it starts up again, right, when sometime in the winter.
Well, this harvest that's going to be coming in from this year is going to be Shvius.
Is going to be Shemitah. So now, really, Shemitah is Tafshin Ayin Hey 5775, but because of the way the Shemitah works with fruits, that it follows the budding of it, the chanota, so it takes us all the way into 5776.
The ramifications will extend far beyond just the 7th year.
Right, and again, even more so in America, because in Israel, if you're buying in the stores that are
under
Hashgacha, so you're not buying that produce. But in America, you don't know what you're buying unless you read the label.
Right now, legally, all produce has to have the source stated on it.
Okay.
That's a US legal requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So, generally speaking, we don't necessarily tell you have to assume they're from Israel.
Right.
And look, if it doesn't say anything, or if you don't notice that it says something, you don't have to assume it's from Israel. But just be aware that there's a tremendous amount of carrots, soon citrus fruits, peppers, and also a tremendous amount of dates that are on the market now from Israel. And people should just be aware of that. If you're shopping in stores that are under certification, or work with certification agencies, for example, the Baltimore 7 Mile Market, even though the produce department is not certified by the Starkey, but we work with them and make sure that all the produce there is not problematic and no further Trumas Maestris or Kedusha Shvius concerns.
So we have it in this upcoming Kashrus Currents, our quarterly publication, we have an article there by Rabbi David Stein, who is our Israeli representative, about what's upcoming in Shemitah. So that Kashrus Current is coming out, that's Miss Rosenstein's department, coming out shortly, right? After Yom Tov. Okay, after Sukkot. Okay, so that will be coming out. It has a chart of all the dates that you need to know. When the produce from Israel will start to be an issue of Shemitah, and then there's also beer Shemitah, which you need to know about as well. So that's a good article to look for. Let us see over here if there's any questions or concerns.
We just mentioned that people are going to be buying esrogim this year for Sukkot. That there's going to be two types of esrogim on the market. There's going to be Israeli esrogim and the non-Israeli esrogim on the market. Okay, we can talk about esrogim. That's a hot topic. I think we mentioned that. Go ahead. So the Israeli esrogim obviously are going to be from the Otzer Bezdin, and all issues pertaining to their permissibility in the outside of Eretz Yisrael have been taken care of already. So they are allowed to be bought. Generally speaking, the way they do it is they are mavliyed, which means they include the sale. They include an esrog in the sale of the lulav. But again,
so you're not paying for the.
You're not paying for the esrog itself.
You're paying for the.
You're paying for the lulav, and you get an esrog along with it. But again, there's different systems of doing it. But
the Otzer Bezdin system that you mentioned briefly is just to expand on that for a second. Is that a person who allows people to come into his field to collect esrogim, everything is free for all, right? But they would damage the trees if they do that. So he's allowed to. Basically to arrange that the Beis Din, the rabbinical court, take care of it, and they can then hire him, because he's the most logical person to do it safely and carefully, to take off the esrogim, and they pay him not for the esrogim but for his work that he has done. So
they should be cheaper.
They should be cheaper because you're only paying for the work for the esrog, but technically it should be like that. But
somehow the love and prices go up, maybe. But,
it doesn't always work like that. I have an ad I saw in the paper, Rabbi Tendler, for Otzer Betin esrogim. Under the ruling of Betin for pricing, God willing, we will have esrogim sets from $14 per set, with a minimum order of 100 sets.
Wow.
So that sounds pretty cheap.
Uh-huh.
So if you want to order 100, I imagine they're not the best, the top of the line, but still, it still sounds.
Well, really, Shmita Esrogim should also not look as nice. It's not Shmita Esrogim because they could take care of it, what's relative to the survival of the fruit, but they can't really take care of the trees to produce, Aleph plus Mahudar Esrogim.
Mm-hmm.
But
I did see a rationale in one of the Sfarim, one of the authorities explaining why there could be different prices for a higher price for a nicer esrog. And his rationale was that even though you're only paying for the work, but the person who gets a nicer esrog is willing to pay more towards the work. So, and other people would be willing to pay less towards the work. He had a rationale for explaining the difference in pricing.
Officially, also what they do is part of the price structure they make up with the farmer is spread out over, assuming that there's going to be different price levels for different esrogim, and collectively it all equals.
Right, all equals. Right, that's the idea. Right, so collectively it equals the amount of work that goes through.
Right,
but this authority was only saying that could make sense for, let's say, 3 levels or a couple of levels. Not that every esrog has a different price. Right. That's what his argument. But there's a lot to discuss there. Now, if you do buy an esrog from Israel, and some people don't. Some people this year will only buy from.
There's a lot of California Yanavers going to be on the market this year.
But afterwards, some hold that you have to send the produce or the esrog back to Israel, and there are collection points for that. Rabbi Heinemann holds that you do not need to do that. You have to let it rot. Let the esrog rot, and then you can throw it out. But his nature, his idea is that if you just let it dry out till it becomes a hard brown ball, that's not rotted, because you can reconstitute it like by putting it in water. So he says you have to wrap it in plastic and put it in the fridge so it still remains moist, but yet and then it has the opportunity to rot.
Then it will get moldy.
And then you can
really
throw
rot.
it out. Right.
But the other thing for Shemitah is that what's going to be coming on the market now is wine.
Okay.
The wine season is just coming now, and all the 2015 wines from Israel will be wines that have Kedusha Shvius. There's less of them available, obviously. Most wineries don't operate this year, but there's a number of them that do make wine with Kedusha Shvius, and consumers, especially in the United States, should be aware of that. And make sure if you see any Israeli bottle of wine starting, let's say, 3 months from now, that has a 2015 year on it, understand that it has Kedusha Shvius.
So you want to check the certification,
check the label,
check the label, and if it is a reliable agency, then there are rules about how you use such wine. You can't waste it. If you use it for Havdalah, you can't overspill it like you normally would.
You can't use it for cooking.
Because you don't normally cook wine. Right. So that's something you need to know.
But the main thing is consumers should just be aware this wine is going to be on the market in the next few months. So.
Okay, so let's see. Let's take some of the comments here, the questions. Okay, it must be the fruit itself, or also applied to seeds or spices. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what that is referring to. Okay. There's another quirk in the calendar. Parshas Vayelech is not read at all in 5775. It was read prior to Rosh Hashanah as Hazinu Shabbat Shuvah. It will be read in 5776 as there are 2 Shabbosos in between Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. Okay, so there's another quirk.
We should make another webinar, Rabbi Goldberg, with Rabbi Heber, called Quirks in the Jewish
calendar. Right, we have had that. I mean, right. Right, so I once, a similar quirk is that which year did not have a Shabbos Chanukah? There's a quirk like that too. There was a year without a Shabbos Chanukah.
Because it was in January.
Right, so then that's technically it's impossible because there are 8 days, so one of the days must be Shabbos. But it was it was an English year that didn't have a Shabbos Chanukah because that's the way it works out. Okay, if the minhag is to spill it over, would that be considered a waste? Whatever spilled over was used for the mitzvah or minhag. No, it's specifically stated that you're not allowed to spill it over. It has to be consumed in the normal way of eating, and not even if you're doing it for a mitzvah, that's not permitted. Okay, so I think that those are the around the year issues that we wanted to bring up. I hope that people found them interesting. Now let's go to the lettuce.
Well, before we go, there's one more round issue I think we're going to mention, and that is that Yashin season is now starting.
Fine.
It's also a seasonal, timely issue. I'll give a brief history about what Yashin is, basically, is that, as we all know, the spring is the planting season and the summer is the harvest season. That's how it is in Eretz Yisrael. That's how the Torah refers to it as, and that's how it is today in the United States as well. So a lot of crops, grains, are planted in the spring, harvested in the summer, right around now. And in the Torah it says that all the new crops do not become permitted to eat until after the first day of Pesach next year, after the Karban Omer is brought on the first day of Pesach, or in Chutz La'aretz after the second day of Pesach. So that's where it comes from, that the 5 grains which are subject to the prohibition of Chadash and Yashan, which are now being harvested, are now going to become prohibited to be eaten until after next year.
For those people that keep Yashan.
Different minhagim outside of Eretz Israel, whether people are stringent about this or not. Star K as an organization, our policy is not necessarily to be stringent about it unless people want to make claims that they're saying it's Yashan. But the idea is that all the grains that are now coming on the market now are going to be from the new crop of grains. So
the major agencies in the United States are not necessarily strict about it unless otherwise posted.
Although if we make a statement that something is Yashan, that means we are certifying it as Yashan.
Right, the Star K is taking responsibility.
We take responsibility. But the idea is that if those people who are stringent on Yashan should be aware that they should have to start checking date codes in products to figure out from the date code whether this item was produced from the newer crop or still from the old crop.
Start stocking up on your Cheerios.
Start stocking up on your Cheerios, exactly, and oatmeal. Rabbi Herman's guide, which is due out very soon, that's the point of his guide, where he gives instructions on how to read the date codes of various products to ascertain whether they are from the last year, from the previous crop, or from the new crop. And for those people who are stringent about it, they'll know exactly what they're allowed to buy, what they're not allowed to buy. We hope to publish soon also a short, handy guide for many commonly used products. Rabbi Herman's guide is quite extensive and lengthy. We hope to publish a short guide to people who are stringent about Yashan, so they know exactly what the codes are.
If I'm not mistaken, Dr. Pollack, who's our president, has an article about, in the Kashrus currents, about Yashan, about the basics of it. If Rabbi Chapman, if you could find it and put up the link. And we also have other information about Yashan up on our site already, star-k.org. Again, if you have any questions, let me just repeat. You can email them to us at info@star-k.org. Also, our busy phones, 410-484-4110 for Kashrus and other questions that you have. So you want to talk about the lettuce issue, Rabbi Tendler? The lettuce, that's only Kashrus professionals can get excited about, like lettuce.
Well, and it used to be that if someone had to go out with a client to a non-kosher restaurant, so it used to be safe to get the fruit and vegetable platter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not safe anymore because the vegetables and a lot of the fruits may have bug issues. Somebody said it would be by the water. You could drink water, but if you're in New York City, you can't drink the water either.
That's true. Well,
so,
the tap water.
The tap water, right? So it's sort of left hanging a little bit. But anyway, so as many people have known, we got a tremendous volume of phone calls about this. That many people are noticing that a lot of the bagged salads, particularly iceberg, that used to have a star-K regularly, nowadays does not have a star-K. This was going on for the last number of months already.
So just to recap, that not every bag of lettuce that, let's say, Dole or Fresh Express is certified by the star-K. You have to look for that
Only
little star-K
only when bearing the star-K.
At the day code. If it doesn't have a star-K, it means it didn't pass.
Right.
So people are wondering why doesn't my lettuce have a star-K?
Right, so that's the reason. The reason is the bags that pass get the star-K, the bags that don't do not get the star-K.
So why is it not passing?
So that's the golden question that we all want the answer to. But basically what's been happening...
Only Rabbi Tendler knows the answer to that question.
I don't say that, but we just call them as we see it. But basically what's been happening this year, which is a little bit of another quirk in the calendar, as they say, some quirky issues, is that lettuce is grown in two different regions in the United States, generally. In the winter it's grown in Arizona, in the summer it's grown in California.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, let's talk about Arizona for a minute, because the issues started in the winter in Arizona. When they're growing in Arizona, Arizona typically is very cool and dry, which are great conditions for producing lettuce and all vegetables with very low insect pressure, because bugs don't thrive in those conditions.
Insect pressure means...
Infestation.
Infestation.
And if you talk, industrial experts refer to it as insect pressure.
Right.
So
for all our experts out there, they know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure.
So those are ideal conditions for very low levels of insect pressure. However, this year in Arizona, they had a very warm and humid winter,
Mm-hmm.
and that caused a tremendously high level of insect infestation.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, even iceberg lettuce, which typically is much cleaner, was having an issue. Now, it's also important to understand why iceberg lettuce is different than lettuce. Than romaine lettuce. Romaine lettuce, everybody knows, has issues with bugs because romaine lettuce is very soft, it's very green, it tastes good, we like it, bugs like it. The heads are wide open, so bugs go right in. And romaine lettuce is traditionally known as having very high levels of insect infestation. What people don't know, though, is that iceberg lettuce also has some very unique challenges when it comes to insect infestation as well. Even though when you buy the head, it's totally closed and looks like a ball, so everyone thinks, how can bugs get in there? But the truth is that iceberg lettuce, when it grows initially, it grows open, just like romaine, for the first couple of weeks, and then only then it closes up. So if it had high levels of insect infestation when it was open, the bugs got in there, and they get stuck in there. Not only do they get stuck in there, and not only can they have children and build families inside the heads of lettuce, but you can't spray them pesticides anymore because the heads are closed. So if you get a problem early on in the iceberg lettuce, it's going to be a problem for the rest of that crop. And that's really what started in Yuma. And that's
California?
In Arizona.
In Arizona,
Yuma, Arizona region. That's really what started then. And it's in California where they have the drought now, so it's only continued the high levels of insect pressure.
Because the bugs are looking for moisture,
because
they're hungry?
actually Northern California in the Salinas Valley, where most of the iceberg lettuce comes from, actually sits on the largest underground river in the entire world. So they don't really need much water for the vegetables to grow. However, the surrounding areas, the surrounding mountains and regions in California are dry as a desert because of the drought. So all the bugs that are there are looking for anything they can get their hands on to eat. So the only thing around for miles to eat is the lettuce fields in Salinas Valley. So they're all coming in and infesting the Salinas Valley. So
Salinas is south of
south of
San Jose.
Right, about an hour and a half south of San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but it's considered Northern California. So because of the drought conditions, so the insect pressure, insect infestation levels in the Salinas Valley have been extremely high this year. So we had the winter crop that had high levels of infestation. Now we have the summer crop that has high levels of infestation.
So let's say normally what percentage of the bags are certified?
Iceberg?
Yeah.
Almost all.
And now what percentage is it?
Very little.
Like 10%?
It depends which company. It depends, companies that have better washing systems are going to be more successful at it. Companies that don't have better washing systems and just rely on the lettuce coming in fairly clean enough are having a very difficult time.
One thing I will say is that what I've seen sometimes is, sometimes these bags of lettuce have stickers on them of some other certification, which is, I guess, doing some double checking on it. But I've seen those, like the red stickers, the orange stickers on bags that don't have a star K.
Right.
And then, so we're saying it didn't pass, and they're saying that it's okay. Well, I could understand if it had a star K, and then they want to do, more inspections on it. Okay, fine. But if we're already saying that it didn't pass, and then for them to check some bags of it, or do some samples, or whatever they're doing, to say it's okay, that's, we don't recommend that, obviously.
It's without getting into all the details of it, but basically, we have mashgichim in all the plants who are doing constant checking on all these batches of lettuce, and if the star K symbol is on there, that means we certify it.
Right.
If it's not on there, it can mean one of two things. Either we didn't check it, and obviously we won't certify it then, or we checked it and it failed. Right now, most of the time, especially on ice, particularly on iceberg and other products, it means we checked it and failed.
I see. So it's really so maybe it will turn around by Yontif. Will it be by ready? No, not necessarily.
It's not necessarily. It depends. The drought in California. The drought in California is still going on, so we might still be having issues. But hopefully we'll see. I mean, if as the weather cools down, so that might get rid of some of the problems, and then we might see more lettuce being available before Yontif.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually in the next Kashrus currents. There also will be an article.
Right, I saw you wrote an article.
Right, more in depth with this issue, with more explanations and pictures about why this issue is happening.
Mm-hmm. Right, so people can take a look at that when it comes out. If you want to sign up you can look online on our website when it comes out, and for the Kashrus currency, if you want to you can sign up to get it emailed to you. So send us an email at info@star-k.org, and we will sign you up for the link for the Kashrus currents. So that's something that is very relevant. People are used to going in and just picking up a bag of Fresh Express or Dole, and they have to make sure that the star K symbol is there.
Like with all products, we always recommend make sure the bag has a symbol on it.
Mm-hmm. Right. There is a question here about flowers and Shemitah, and that's a complicated issue. Whether or not Shemitah applies to flowers or not. They do import flowers from Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, they do. Yes. And the question is, he's asking whether or not the Shemitah applies. It is a complicated issue, and there's a lot that's been written on it. There's some more here about the switching of the parshias. People are learning in Israel, coming to America, learning in America, going to Israel. They have to they want to make sure they get the right parsha. Okay, Rabbi Tendler, I think that we covered the issues that we wanted to, here, why hasn't the Star K issued one of their alerts about lettuce instead of waiting for the Kashrus currents? Pointed question to Rabbi Tendler.
There were actually numerous alerts issued.
I take no responsibility for that. We were saying we did issue alerts,
We did issue
right?
numerous alerts, as well as signage and internet postings, and email alerts did go out a number of months ago. Right,
so Yaakov says he received them. So I would recommend to Yehuda to sign up for our alerts. Send us an email to info@star-k.org. We'll sign you up for the alerts. We got the same question about the carrots, about the Shemitah carrots.
We did issue alerts.
We did issue alerts. So someone said, someone asked us the opposite question. Why didn't you put it into the Kashrus currents? So the answer to that was, the Kashrus currents only comes out every 3 months, and we wanted to get it out right away, but we did put it in the Kashrus currents as well. It was on the back page of one of our Kashrus currents. There's only so much that we can do. We try to publicize in any way that we can. And
we're trying to get emergency text alert permission to issue like those weather warnings, to alert everybody instantly. But so far,
people ask me. I sometimes throw it back to the callers, to the questions. I say, listen, Kashrus is so complicated nowadays. You can't just wait to read it in your shul bulletin anymore. And the rabbi might mention it, he might not mention it. sign up for the alerts from our agency, from other agencies, from the places that collect all the alerts, and try to be on top of it as much as possible. It's not so simple anymore. There is a lot happening. So Yehuda is signed up for the alerts, and he says that he didn't. Oh, he received it March 20th. Okay, there we go. We are vindicated. Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining, and thank you, Rabbi Tendler, for your input. And we are here every last Wednesday of the month, except next last Wednesday of the month is the intermediate days of Sukkot, September 30th. I did look that up before I came on the air. Of course, Rabbi Heber would know right away. But so I do not believe that that's going to be a good time to have a webinar. If we push it off or if we do it earlier, we'll send out an email. Otherwise, we'll just wish you a chesivus tova, a good year, a sweet and happy new year, and all the best to you and your families. Take care. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.